This episode is brought to you by Neurocrine Biosciences. Thank you, Neurocrine, for helping NADF continue to educate, bring about awareness, and save lives. Welcome to All Things Adrenal. Each episode, we'll hear stories from individuals living with adrenal disease, share updates on treatments, research, protocols, interview medical professionals, and explore all things adrenal together. I'm your host, Vanessa O'Rourke, NADF Community Engagement Manager and fellow adrenal warrior. Today, we are joined by Heidi Engelhardt. Heidi was diagnosed with Addison's disease at the age of 14. Since her diagnosis, she has led an active lifestyle in more ways than one. She lives in Colorado, where she works for New Belgium Brewery and has led an NADF support group since 2020. When she isn't working or advocating for her adrenal community, you can find Heidi roller skating, party planning, exploring restaurants, and cuddling her pup Joe. With that, it's my pleasure to welcome Heidi.
Hi, Vanessa. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited you're here. For those that don't know, Heidi and I are actually very good friends. I always say that she's one of my Addisonian besties. We were actually supposed to be physically together at the end of November. We'll talk more about that later. But of course, due to life things, we had to reschedule. But that's one of the reasons that I've been waiting so long to have her on as a guest. Otherwise, she would have been here day one. You also might notice that Heidi has a hoarse voice, but that's just because this is real life and it's the holidays and sickness is upon us. But we're glad that she is here to be with us. And with that, let's just dive right into your story. Okay, you were diagnosed at 14, but can you tell us a little bit about your diagnosis journey at such a formidable age?
Yeah, absolutely. So being diagnosed at 14 was pretty tough. I would say I had symptoms kind of creeping up on me, probably starting when I was 12. I had, the low body weight. I had very, very dark skin, but I was still very active. And so it was kind of hard to say that anything was wrong because I was a runner. Runners have low body weight. I'm outside in the sun, so I have dark skin. That's, it was just kind of like, is something wrong? I don't really know. So it wasn't until about 6 months before I turned 14, or no, that's not it. I was diagnosed in November when I was 14. So it was actually probably about 6 months before I was going to turn 15. I had a lot of leg cramping. I mean, like paralyzing leg cramps, like falling down, passing out, screaming, like literally screaming bloody murder because my legs hurt so bad, my calves and my lower back. And I had a couple of other symptoms. I would get blood taken and my sodium was really low. But I went to a couple different doctors. I mean, they did a CAT scan. I mean, you just kind of are like run through the gambit, especially because being diagnosed at that young of age is not really common for Addison. So they were kind of ruling it out. Like, yes, it's a maybe. I think they must have done like an ACTH test and it was okay or something. But I missed about 6 months of school. I mean, I was like constantly, I would go home like every single day. I couldn't sit up. I remember like passing out in the hallway one time, waking up and being like, oh my God, I still have time to like be on time to math or something like that. I wasn't like, oh, I should just go home. It was just like, oh no, I passed out again. Let me just go to school because I've missed so much. Why would I want to miss more? So it wasn't until I saw a doctor, an endocrinologist in upstate New York, and through all of my symptoms, the dark skin, underweight, the cramping, everything, he said, I don't care what the ACTH test looks like. I know you have Addison's. And at this point, I think I was probably like 5'3" and like 85 pounds, which is so low. And also the salt cravings were like insane. Salt and spicy food, actually. But after that diagnosis, at this point my parents are like pretty worried, pretty scared. And, we finally get this diagnosis. he says, here's some hydrocortisone. And my mom's like, how long until she is going to feel better? And the doctor was like, I don't know, like 30 minutes. And
what?
my mom was like, what? Like, why didn't we try this before? Obviously, it wasn't 30 minutes until I was normal, but I obviously started to feel a lot better. I was on a lot of hydrocortisone, I would say, for the first month. And the brain fog was like insane. I mean, I wasn't going to school, so I wasn't even like engaging my brain. I was truly just trying to survive. So it was just like, after that diagnosis, obviously, like a lot of things changed. I could kind of come back to myself, but I mean, my diagnosis changed a lot after that, but that was the lead up to the diagnosis. Like, I remember being pushed in a wheelchair. I don't remember also a lot of things. My parents and my siblings and my friends will tell me stories, and I'm like, I have no recollection of that.
I am always astounded by people who are diagnosed in their teens, because what a confusing time. You're trying to be a human, your body's developing, your brain's not fully developed, and things are going haywire or not feeling right. You don't have anything to compare it to, yet you still know something is off. And I'm trying to picture, that must have been even more confusing for you because you were a runner and you were getting these leg cramps. Did you affiliate or associate that with being a runner? Did you think it was just part of that?
That's a good question. I think maybe a little bit. It's like, oh, okay, I did a hard workout or I had a hard run, but there was also a part of me that was just like, I'm not strong enough to be a runner. I was also getting injured. I had like really bad shin splints, and it's so hard. Even today as an adult, it's like, is this the Addisons or is it something else? And if it's something else, then it's affecting the Addisons. It's
Always.
just like this constant cycle where it's like, I don't know what it is. The leg cramps, now that hindsight's always 20/20. Now that I look back at it, the leg cramps were definitely the Addisons, because they were like shooting pain randomly. It was just like I would be on a walk and all of a sudden I can't get up. So it was that I can see now. But I also, even though I was running, I wasn't running a lot. But what is a lot for a teenager? I don't know. Yeah, it was confusing. It was like, what's running? What's my diet? What's this mysterious disease? I don't know.
Well, and then this incredible doctor is like, which is very rare, is like, despite all that the tests say, I know this to be what's happening with your body. Let's do this. They got you going, and you said things were different or changed after your diagnosis. Was it, I mean, this might be hard to look back on or remember. You were saying there was times that you don't necessarily remember, but were you able to jump back into, doing track, being, running, being athletic? Were you able to be social and go back to school now that you had this new protocol?
I wouldn't even call it a protocol, because even though he had made that diagnosis, it was like, hey, take 30 milligrams a day for the rest of your life and you're going to be fine.
Yeah, bye. Like, that's all you need.
Exactly. Like, no, literally, that's how it was. It was like double for sickness and surgery. But, as I've learned over having this disease over now more than half my life, it's just like, oh my God, there's so much more to that. But immediately I was diagnosed in November, and my high school had indoor track. And I remember taking, this is probably the first time, since I was in middle school, that I was like, okay, I'm not going to compete in indoor track. I just remember like the list of school assignments that I had to catch up on. So I remember being like, okay, now that I have my brain and my body back, let's focus on getting all this schoolwork done, and I'll slowly start running with my dad, and, with my family. I'll slowly start running with them. And then in the spring, I can, get back to being a runner. So that was kind of the immediate next steps. But things changed. Things still change with my diagnosis, I would say. Okay, so that was, I think in like, freshman year of high school. I can't really think of the years, but that was my freshman year of high school, 2009. And then it wasn't until my freshman year of college, so like 2013, 2014, that a different endocrinologist was like, do you know what fludrocortisone is? And I was like,
wait,
no.
Stop. Were you not on fludrocortisone your entire high school career?
Correct.
And you were running and being
Yes.
athletic and being a human.
Yes. Yes.
My God, I do not think people understand not that you had a choice. You didn't know. I do not think
didn't
people
know.
understand.
Nobody knew.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
like the resilience and the incredible power of the body, even when we have these diseases or these conditions, the fact that your body survived that long and you were, I don't want to say you were thriving. I didn't know you in high school, but the fact that you were able to do high school and do activities is huge. That you were missing half of your medication. We've talked about this before, but for those that don't remember or know, hydrocortisone covers our cortisol replacement, our hormone that does everything for us. Fludrocortisone covers ACTH, helps us with our water retention, salt retention, all those things that are going to keep our body hydrated and functioning. So half of Heidi's medication was not given to her for 4 years of your life?
Yeah.
Bonkers.
Yeah, and I think the reasoning was like, oh, well, hydrocortisone does a little bit of that electrolyte retention for you. But it was like not enough if I'm running, 40 miles a week, and I get dehydrated easily. Like there's other things too. And so I saw this other doctor and was like, what about adding fludrocortisone? And I was like, okay, that sounds like a great idea. So I took 0.4 milligrams of fludrocortisone for my whole collegiate career, because then I went on to run in college. I ran in Division I track and cross country. And once again, my freshman year, I get to this doctor. They're like, well, clearly the hydrocortisone isn't working for you. Let's switch to prednisone. So I switched to prednisone, and you take less of it in less frequent times. And I did that for like a year, and my eyes got really bad. I guess prednisone can have an effect on your eyesight. So my eyes got really bad. I think that's more like long term. But still, within a year, it was just kind of like, it wasn't really working for me with like, I was running twice a day, every day. And even with the fludrocortisone and the prednisone together, it just like, I don't know, it wasn't working for me. I didn't love it.
Well, that makes sense too. Prednisone is long lasting, so people take it and it kind of slowly distributes throughout the day. For some individuals, but hydrocortisone only lasts in our system for 4 to 5 hours, depending on your metabolism. So you, as someone who were active, you were burning through it probably incredibly quickly, and that multiple doses a day was probably much more successful for your system since you were being so active and burning through it. So it makes sense why that maybe wasn't a good fit for you personally.
Yeah. So yeah, then that changed. I'm trying to think. So that was, I would say, the biggest change was the fludrocortisone. I was taking a lot of fludrocortisone. I had a doctor now who was more familiar with athletes and their needs, hormone wise. And he was very diligent at, checking all of my electrolyte levels and all of those things, because that was a pretty big indicator of how good I was feeling. Was honestly, I feel like I could be on a really stable dose of hydrocortisone, but it was more like, okay, if I know I have a big week of training coming up. So in in college, I started running upwards of 100 miles a week. So if I knew I had a big training block, I would actually take more fludrocortisone the week before so that I could, I don't know, my muscles would work better,
Sure.
And so, so that was definitely a big change in college for me. Although I'm still active in different ways, I don't take as much fludrocortisone now, but that was a big change for me once I got that fludrocortisone added in there. And again, like, in 2009 when I was diagnosed, there's just not a lot of research done on this disease in general, but also like this disease in women, this disease in teenagers. And it's really hard to give medication to teenagers when it hasn't been tested on. Doctors are afraid of doing that. And I totally understand why, but it's tough out there on both sides, but it's a very slow and painful, like I feel better, but not really. And it's kind of hard to compare. Now I'm 30 and it's like, before this, I can't compare myself to when I was 10, it's completely different. But yeah, all of a sudden I start learning about new medications and, every doctor I feel like teaches me something different. And it's just kind of like, I just have to try everything at least once, because it might work for me and it might not.
I think that's I don't want to say advice, but like the words of support or guidance or whatever that I try to offer new patients or new people diagnosed or, people who've had it forever, a long time, is that unfortunately we are a science experiment and we are the scientists. There's people who are going to help us.
And the experiment. We are the
and
scientists.
The experiment.
And the
exactly.
Experiment.
We are testing things on ourselves, again, with the help of your medical team, with your medical professionals. But it's trial and error because there's so many extenuating factors. Heidi just gave the example of like, she was a teenager. She is a woman. She is, has this disease. She's active. Those all make her unique and different. It is not a one size fits all situation. And the only way to figure it out is trial and error science experiments with your doctor. And that's why it's so helpful to have a doctor who is there to support you, and even if they don't have the answers, is willing to explore and learn with you, because that is the only way that you're going to be able to find what's the best protocol, the best, schedule, the best everything for your personal condition.
Absolutely. I would say that is the best part, I think, about my doctor right now. This is the longest relationship I've ever had with a doctor. I think I've been seeing him now for 8 years.
Wow.
And it's like, I can go in with ideas and be like, hey, what about instead of, I've been taking hydrocortisone twice a day, every day since I was 14. And about a year ago, I was having a lot of like nausea problems. And I think it was because again, I'm an active individual. For some reason, this hydrocortisone is like pumping through my body quicker than normal. It could be the brand. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't particularly like to rely on certain brands. I just haven't. That wasn't something that was taught to me. Like, oh, brands can be different, And so I've just always been like, whatever hydrocortisone I can get, I'm going to take. But I was having these nausea spells, and I was like, what if we do less hydrocortisone, but more times during the day? And he was like, I don't really have anybody else that does that, but let's try it. And it really works for me. So I would say the last almost a year, probably 10 months, I've been doing hydrocortisone at 7 a.m., noon, and 5 p.m. And it just works. And, he's like, I've never had someone do that before. And, he switched my medication to be 5 milligram pills instead of 10. It's just like someone who listens to you. It's like, hey, I want to try this.
Yes.
Obviously, I'm always like, hey, tell me why or why I shouldn't. But here's my thinking, because he always says, he's like, you're the professional. You're probably going to know more about this disease than I do, but I can use my medical background to maybe tell you things that maybe you don't know about why this could be or could not be a good idea. We've tried tons of things, I also have PCOS, so he also helps me with that. Again, like there's just like, that is like the biggest thing I could say is like find a doctor that listens to you, which is extremely hard when it's a life-altering disease. And it's just like, you can't just go, shopping around for a doctor. You have waiting lists. You have symptoms that sometimes people aren't comfortable treating. Like, it's absolutely crazy. But once you find that doctor, your life will change for sure.
I always say cling to them like a life raft, because even if they're not your best friend, they may not have the best bedside manner, but if they will do the tests you want, experiment with you, listen to you, trial and error things, keep them, because it is worth it in a world where a lot of doctors don't. And that's not to harp on doctors. I am very grateful for what they do. It's just, it is such a niche specific condition, and the little information and research that, hasn't been done in many, many years is limited. So keep those. I like your doctor. We like them.
I do too. He was also the first one. I remember, I think it was 2021. I had never known anyone in my life that had passed away, and within 2 months 2 people that were very, very close to me had passed away. And I'm like, you just kind of like lose it a little bit. And he looked at me and he was like, you're like updosing for this emotional stress, right? And I was like, what?
Wow.
But like, it makes sense. Like, yes, it's emotional stress, but it has physical tolls on the body. Like my mind is racing. I'm literally stressed. I'm crying. And so that's also a big part. I kind of think of sometimes my journey with Addison's in phases. Like, there was this new phase of like stress dosing or up dosing for emotional things now. So again, now I've had this disease since 2009, and it's 2021, and I'm just learning to up dose for emotional stress. Like that also changed my life, so it's just constantly changing, and it's crazy. I don't know how else to describe it.
I'm so glad that you learned that. I'm very sorry the way you had to learn that lesson. Grief is not something that anyone should have to go through, but unfortunately we all go through at different degrees at different points in our life in different ways. And I'm sorry that you had to experience it so back to back at such a young age, but I'm glad that you had a doctor that educated and supported you in that, because, and I've genuinely been wanting to do an entire episode on grief and adrenal insufficiency and updosing. Have not been able to because I've been processing and grieving some stuff this year and I'm not ready to unpack it. But when I get there, I want to emphasize the importance of updosing on emotional stress, because grief and emotions are a stress on the body. And I personally find my body burns cortisol faster through emotional stress versus physical stress. And that's different for everyone. But finding a doctor that acknowledged it and supported it and wanted you to do that is incredible. I could talk about that 100 times over forever.
Same.
But I want to talk about so many other things that because your story, the things that you do and who you are. I always joke that when I grow up, I want to be Heidi, even though I'm much older than her, because she's very cool and she does so many amazing things. And I'm always in awe of her bandwidth and passion and energy. And I want to talk about those things. I get excited. Okay, we've talked about you're active, you're a runner, you've done all these things. You were active in high school, you're active in college, and I mentioned at the beginning you roller skate and that you party plan. And these are huge components of Heidi. Heidi is a very I just want to dance when I think about it, because you're a very energetic, very active social person as well. And I want to talk about, you said in college you were updosing additional and prepping for that activity that was going to come. How do you do that now? Like maybe if you could share a little bit, like what is the physical activity that you do? What is happening in your day-to-day basis that you're participating in? How are you updosing or prepping, or like what are you doing to combat that stress that's going to come with Addison's?
Oh gosh, so much to unpack, and I feel like there's so many
answer
things,
that question real quick. No,
there's so many things at play here that again I think could be like a whole other.
I know.
Again, a whole other.
We'll do another one. Don't worry.
So, like it's been mentioned, I was a runner in college, and I think what has not been said yet was that I was a very intense one. I was very intense, very regimented. I actually honestly didn't have much of a social life outside of it. Like I kept to myself. I was very intense. And after college, I actually don't run anymore, which is funny. After college, I realized that I think I had been missing out on a lot of things. I missed out on trying any new sports. Like I really didn't explore anything. I didn't explore any other passions or talents or hobbies. I didn't really have any of those. So after you kind of get out of this really regimented lifestyle, all of a sudden now my world has opened up. I'm also not spending all of my energy on running that I can like do these other things. But having that like knowledge of I have to updose if I want to do something more. And my baseline is always, if I want to do something more than laying on the couch, I need to updose in some way. And so it was kind of not fun. I mean, it was kind of fun, but like thinking about like, okay, if I'm going to go on a bike ride with a friend and then we're going to go to a brewery, how much would I, like, what is that almost like equivalent to? Like not necessarily mileage or time spent outside, but again, there's all these other factors. And I was honestly, after college, I was just like trying new things for the first time. I was roller skating for the first time. I was like working in a restaurant. That was really fun. And I had like a lot of this like, okay, what's the equivalent of, this type of run, or like the restaurant as the equivalent of my team. And, you know, like, it was just kind of like a shift is a race, almost like that. Like, I don't know, it was just things like that. Because that was really the only mindset I had, was this, like, really intense athletic world. And all of a sudden I realized, I was like, oh my God, I have time and energy to do, like, other fun things. So it was just, I'm always like, I'll try anything once. I'll try any food once. I'll try any activity once. And all of a sudden it was just like, I have a different activity every single day. I don't even run anymore. And it's like, one day I bike, one day I do yoga, one day I rollerblade, one day I lift, one day I'll mountain bike or road bike. Like, it's just like, there's just so, I'm not like really worried about like being good at anything anymore. It's more about like moving my body and making it feel good, because I suffered a lot of injuries with running. And so it's like, I feel like I've really gassed out all of those muscles and bones that are required for running. And I'm like, if I do a different activity, swimming, like, if I do a different activity, I'll work different muscles. And in that way, my body will become stronger. And so it has been tough to be like, okay, is an hour swim the same up dosage as an hour run? I don't know, but I'm going to try. Mm-hmm. So it's just, I just like to try a lot of things. And I think having more than one activity, probably I like to usually stick to more than 3, or at least 3 a week. Just getting your body doing something different, whether it's really slow and intentional like yoga, or intense like weightlifting. And then something, I think rollerblading is just so much fun. And I can go places fast and far on my wheels, but like, it's not as intense as running. And I'm outside in beautiful Colorado. So it's just like, those things just really like speak to me. And I think just, using my body in different ways is what's going to keep it healthy.
Which, again, we're back to that science experiment. It's just in a different capacity. We're doing all these experiments in a fun way. And I love that you emphasize the fun on it, because it all can be really overwhelming and really stressful. But if it's basically like you've reframed it. And, you know, I do try to be, in my life, or when I communicate to others about everything with adrenal stuff and chronic illness in general, like, I try to be positive or in focusing in that mind. But sometimes it's hard to do that. But it's the way you just phrase that in this fun trial and error makes it sound like I feel re-inspired to play more. Like, you don't have to be a professional athlete. We can just play. Like, we can just go rollerblading. I can't do that. You can do that. I can rollerblade in a rink. Don't get me wrong. I just do not have the capacity to stop. And I have learned, because I have fallen or run into buildings, I don't know how to stop. Yeah. So I can only go in a circle. But
I love that.
Have fun instead.
Yeah, but there's also like that brings up like so much like risk management, you know, like if I fall and break a bone, like that's a stress dose. That's a trip to the ER. You know, like, it's just like, there's so many things. And I think that's why I like being bad at sports, is because I just do it and I'm chill. Yeah. Like, people are like, let's go on a bike ride. And I'm like, or they're like, I want to bike with you, but I'm not that good. I'm like,
perfect.
Honey, I am so slow. Like, it would probably be faster to walk my bike up this hill, but I want to use these muscles. Like, I'm different muscles. Just here. I'm just here to be outside and try this sport. I like being bad at things, because that's where my risk management lies. It's like, I'm just going to do something to my comfort level, and I truly don't care if I'm fast, how fast I'm doing it. I just want to do it because it's a good activity.
Yeah, I love it. You're so cool. Okay, so you're moving your body. You're doing all these fun new things. You're finding regimes. You're doing trial and error to figure out what works best for you. Then Heidi's like, I'm just going to add more to my plate. I'm going to become an NADF support group leader. I mentioned that before. We have support groups all across the country. Most of them are virtual. That started in the 2020 during the pandemic, and a lot of them have stayed that way because they're a bit more accessible, and we have people all over the place. But Heidi reached out and wanted to be a support group leader. How and why did you make that decision? Like, what is that like for you? Because the Colorado group is one of our most consistent groups. You guys meet every single month. Almost this, I think it's the same day and the same time every month. I don't want to say specifically because I know things change sometimes, but it's so consistent. Your group is massive. Like, tell me about that, because you've cultivated a really incredible space, and I want to know how you got there.
That's sweet. I love my support group. I I don't know. I just love them. I truly like look forward to seeing them on the days that we meet once a month very consistently. It's just, I mean, I know I'm helping them. I don't know exactly how I'm helping them, but I love to listen to their stories. I'm so amazed by them. And they, honestly, I've learned so much just by being in the support group, just by being in it. Like, yes, I lead it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just kind of there to make the space and make sure that, you know, people have the space when they do show up. But I started doing it in 2020 because in 2020, there was a lot of things going on in the world. Obviously, the COVID pandemic, and there was just so much advocacy work that I felt like needed to be done for multiple groups, you know, with disability status, with race, with like with sexual orientation, like literally everything. And it was just like, I didn't really know. I wanted to help in some way, and I just kind of realized that that's probably where my voice, or at least my time and my energy, would be needed and appreciated, is in this kind of disability space, but specifically with Addison's. And so also I'm quite scared during the pandemic because there's no research about what COVID does to people with Addison's.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hunkered down. I have a very tight bubble. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not, you know, it's just like me and one person in a house for like over a year. You know, I don't get to see my family. I'm running outside with a mask on. Like, that's how scared I am. But I need to like do the things that keep me me. And I just remember being so scared and wanting someone to talk to about this. And I remember that's when I found NADF in general. And then I saw that they were looking for a support group leader, specifically in Colorado. And I was like, well, that's where I live. So I never actually joined a support group. But I was like, sounds like this will be new for everyone. So I'm down to just kind of try it. And then we talked on the phone. And so it wasn't until 2020 that I had even spoken to another person with Addison's. You know, I had heard of famous people having it, like JFK, but like I never actually talked to someone, so it's just like very alienating to, you know, it feels like I'm the only person in the world that has it, and then to like even like just talk to someone over the phone with it was like crazy eye-opening for me. So yeah, I think like, yeah, that was like another phase of my life that I think really changed was once I met you and got involved. And I love my support group. I get excited to see them every month, you know, and we talk about things other than Addison's because as much as that's how we are connected, there's other stuff going on. Like, and we just like help each other through like, oh, you're moving? This is what I did when I was moving. This is how I updosed, or like, this is the service that I used in Colorado. Like, Colorado is also really specific because we are at a high elevation. Barometric pressure affects us in different ways. Like, people will come sometimes into the support group from other states because like they, you know, their state might not have a support group. And they start hearing us talk about like, oh, I'm going up to this town, which is 5,000 feet higher. Like, and we're all like, get your compression socks, like take extra Fludro. Like, there's just like so many different things. Like, again, I moved to Colorado and my disease has now changed again. You know, it's just different. And we are 100% virtual online because Colorado is quite a big state. You know, I have someone who's in Alamosa, which is 8 hours from me.
Wow.
But also they are 6 hours from their endocrinologist. That is the closest endocrinologist to them. So it's just like, they have to like really plan to stress dose and to drive that far. And it's just like, people who know your disease are like, oh my gosh, I did a road trip that long and I did this. And, you know, they could be like, oh my God, I never thought about that. It's just like, it's almost just like having other eyes on your disease. And at least a big symptom for me is like, when I'm stressed, I not only get brain fog, but I lose like brain function. Like, I just like, I'm like, I truly can't think of everything if I'm too stressed. So it's like, and you don't even think about like having to updose because you've lost brain function. Does that make sense? Like, it's just like
100%.
then you're in this cycle, and it takes somebody else on the outside to be like, hey, you seem stressed. Hey, like, we're going to do this thing. Like, did you take extra medicine? So it's just like that whole education piece of people around you, people in your family, people in your close circle, people at your work. Like, it's truly life-changing, because if I kept it to myself all the time, people would think I'm like not good at my job, or like not as good of a friend or something, It's just like, it kind of sucks, but you have to get everyone involved, because it seems like such a burden. It really does. I mean, like, my med alarm goes off at work all the time, and I'm constantly doing something. So I snooze it, and sometimes someone will come from across the room and be like, dude, you need to take your medicine, because I don't want to hear that alarm again. I'm like, you're so right. You're so right. I really should. So it's just like, it takes a village. It takes way more than you and a great doctor to like conquer, or not even conquer, just like manage this.
Well, and I there's so many things I want to talk about on that, but you're reminding me of the last time Heidi and I were together, and we'll talk about why about that was in just a minute. But we were together, and your alarm went off, and you were snoozing it, and you're like, oh, I don't have my pills on me. I'll be right. I'm going to just go keep doing what I'm doing. And I was like, dude, I have my medicine right here. Take my medicine. We have the same medicine. And you were just like, eyes were like, whoa, I can just take your medicine. I mean, I'm not saying share medicine, but I'm just saying we were in a situation where Heidi didn't have her medication on her. We have the exact same brand. We take the same dose. We have everything the same. And she was like, oh, wow. And it just so happens that her time is the same time as my dose. So I was already had my medication out. So we literally like cheersed our pills and took them together at the same time. It was this insane moment of literally, like you said, having each other's back. It's a taking a village, having that support. And, we can talk about being in person together in a minute, but like that's what these support groups do, is they're offering these other eyes and these other perspective and people keeping an eye on you outside of just like work and family or friends.
Yeah, I hardly ever, I feel like I've been so loose with my medication in the past, because it's like, oh, I take it at these 2 different times. I don't need it on my person all the time, but my life has gotten a little more active in my job in the last couple of years. So I'm always moving. So it's just like, and I'm physically traveling, like,
right.
Now I have it on me. But yeah, that was a funny moment where it's just like, that's so weird to be like, oh, my alarm's going off. I need to take my medicine. I don't have it. And I don't go and get it. Like, that's insane to me now.
Well, it's just how you were busy, you were working. And I mean, let's talk about it. Let's talk about your work. And again, we could talk about this forever. And so Heidi works for New Belgium. Or why don't you tell us where you work for, and then I can talk a little bit about what that was.
Yeah, so I work for an amazing company called New Belgium Brewing out of Fort Collins, Colorado. We have a couple different locations at this point, but I work for this amazing company who definitely puts like people first. And so for 5 years, I worked in the tap room as a tour guide. And because we are, fully benefited employees, even though, quote unquote, I'm just a tour guide, like we are treated as well as, the executives. We get really nice benefits. It is a great place to work. We get PTO. It's like, it's just amazing. Go on a tour and you can learn more about the company. But it's uncommon to not tip bartending employees. So we're bartending and we're tour guiding. And people, again, it's such a nice company to work for. People are coming in, they're buying merch, they're buying beer, and they're like, how can I tip you? Or you go on a great tour and they're like, how can I tip you? And you can't tip us. That's just not, we are paid a living wage in the town that our company is in. So we forego tips. We collect, even though we can't personally accept the money, we say, hey, I can't personally accept this money, but if you want to make a donation to a nonprofit in my honor, basically, I will take your money. We only take cash tips. We'll take that money, we put it into an account, and then at the end of the year, the account gets split up between all the tour guides, like all of that money, and the tour guide gets to donate all of that tip money that essentially we made throughout the entire year. and gets to donate it to a nonprofit of their choosing. It's always something that is near and dear to that tour guide, something that is important to them, maybe something that they personally advocate for. And so I have always chose my tip money to go to the National Adrenal Diseases Foundation.
So Heidi now is not only being an advocate for her adrenal disease community, for her actual adrenal warrior friends, she now is bringing it into her workplace, which is obviously a magical workplace that I love and wish every company would pay everyone a living wage and donate to nonprofits in need. That would be fantastic. But now she's bringing it into an environment where she has now educated her entire staff. Everybody knows about it. Beyond just she has the disease, she's shared about NADF and how it's helped and saved her life. They've, for a couple years now been donating to NADF every single year, and she's also educating her community about it. So that's amazing on all fronts. But that is why Heidi and I got to finally meet in person, is that NADF was invited out for their philanthropy day, and they hosted an event of gratitude and honoring and educating nonprofits of each other. So we got to learn about the other nonprofits that were out there. But Heidi and I got to be together in person, and it was the first time either of us, right? Was it the first time for you too?
I had met one of my support group people before in person, but that was the first time I'd ever met anyone with Addison's that was around my age.
And the length of time, because I've been to a couple local support groups as well, and I've been to we
had
other
like a whole
conferences
weekend together.
I stayed with Heidi. It was like being with someone with the same disease as you for 72 hours. It was, I don't know. Okay, what was that like for you?
Oh my God, that was amazing. I felt like it was almost just like, I felt like I had like a twin a little bit in a way. It was just like, I felt like the things that I say in my head and the questions that I ask myself, I could ask out loud.
Yeah.
Like we went like shopping and went and got coffee, and it was like, okay, well, let's do this at this time because we need to take food with our medicine, and we could do, and it was just,
and then we'll rest.
I was like, yes, it was like, this is my rest time, and it's just like, I was actively having a conversation with a real human that I only have with myself. Yeah, which is an insane feeling of like being seen. It was amazing, and I want to do I just want to do a trip.
Yeah, that'd be great. We've been saying for a long time. We keep saying we have a Salt Sisters text thread, and we keep being like this. Every year we're like, we're going to do it this year, but life is crazy and things are hard. But one day it will happen, because for me, I spent a lot of the weekend happy crying. Like when I met all of Heidi's coworkers, and I was just like, thank you guys so much for understanding and supporting Heidi in her condition and honoring her and elevating her and not like discrediting her or diminishing her abilities. Like you were highlighting her and empowering her. So I felt happy seeing her being seen and supported, because she is, my community, my family. I know, here we are. We're just going to cry. It's going to be fine.
And now we're going to cry. We get to the point of the podcast. Now we cry.
We're going to cry. It's fine. I know. I was like, we don't have to do a long one, but I'm like, how can I not talk to Heidi for a long time about everything that we want to talk about? Again, you'll probably
because we get tired.
I know. We get tired. We're going to take a nap after this. It's stressed us. Yes. It was so cool it was just very empowering and very important to be with somebody who knows what you're going through. It may not be the same journey. We've had different diagnosis timelines. We have other medical conditions. We've had other traumas. We have other extenuating factors happening in our life. But to be with someone who understands I wish that on everyone. And I know that's not something that's accessible to everyone, but that is why I really want to encourage people to join at least the virtual support groups, because having that communication and that understanding and that compassion means so much more than... think about that. Heidi, you were how old when we talked on the phone?
27.
27. That's the first time you spoke to someone after having that disease for 13 years.
Yep.
For 13 years, you never spoke to anybody who understood what you were going through. Nope. And then to be able to have that, I feel so honored to be the first person that you got to talk to. That is like such a blessing about my job. I love that I get to talk to people who are just starting out, because I hear that often. They're like, I've never spoken to anyone with that disease, and I'm like, it's awesome, right? It's really fun. We get it.
No, you play such an important role in so many people's lives. Like I can completely understand. Like you're so positive, and there's no one else I would have I'm like, oh my God, this person's amazing. Like,
well, that's what I needed. Like, that's what we all needed. Like, when I was diagnosed, I didn't see anything. I couldn't find anything. So I just started a YouTube channel and just started talking into the void. And then, I found NADF, and that support group saved my life because they are the ones that told me about fludrocortisone and emergency injections and a wallet ID. Again, my doctor didn't tell me anything. It was, here's 20 milligrams. Bye. Have a nice life. Mm-hmm. And so that support group was a game changer for me, learning all the additional components that I needed. So when NADF asked me years later if I would want to come in and help in a capacity with patients, I was like, yes, please, and thank you. All I've ever wanted to do is be that person that I didn't have right away, because we all need someone to hold our hand through this. I say it all the time. It's a lonely journey, but you don't have to do it alone.
Yep. Absolutely.
Oof. Yeah, I could go on
all the feels. Oh my
God. We could talk about everything. Okay, we could talk about everything. I really want to honor your time and energy and your sickness. I want you to rest. I want us both to rest. Okay, let's just say this. You've had an incredible journey. You are having an incredible journey, ups and downs. There's so many new things that are yet to come. You're so young. There's so many changes that are still going to happen. If there's one thing that you could share with a new, young diagnosed, either young Heidi or anyone newly diagnosed or a young individual, I emphasize young because I feel like our youth, our teen community feels so isolated and alone, and maybe doesn't always feel encouraged to share or connect with others, because there's, I don't know what it's like to be a teenager diagnosed with Addison's, but like there's sometimes shame or guilt or other peer pressure components to it that play a layer. Wow, this is a long question. Basically, I got sidetracked. What would you say to young Heidi or a young person newly diagnosed that you think would be helpful?
Oh my God, that's so loaded. When I think about like other kids like going through what I went through, I just like choke up, obviously. What I would say to my younger self, or what I would say to other kids that are potentially going through this or have gone through this, is just like speak up. I think there were a lot of times where I thought the symptoms I was having, it was just because, I was weak or I couldn't handle something, but I think it was a symptom, so just speak up. Just speak up. If you think it's a symptom, if you, maybe it's something that isn't wrong, but just like speak up. Say how you feel, ask your questions. It's so hard because you don't know what normal is, and you don't know how you're supposed to feel, especially as a teenager. So many things can be brushed under the rug as puberty or so many other things, but just speak up and just say exactly how you're feeling, even if you're not sure how you're feeling. It's just important that like all of those things are kind of out there on the table. And that you have someone, safe enough for you to speak up to, whether that's a doctor, a family member, a classmate, a teacher, a nurse. Like there's so many people. Just find one person in your corner and just kind of speak up.
And if you don't have that, you can reach out. We have an NADF teen support group. I hosted along with Leslie, who's one of our incredible support group leaders. Reach out to NADF support at nadf.us, and we can be that. You can come join our community of other teens who are impacted by adrenal disease. But I think this goes back to what you were saying, Heidi, which I love everything that you said, but it's back to that simple sentence where you said, trust your gut, trust your intuition. You know your body better than you, and you have to be the one that listens and speaks up for it.
Yeah.
Well, just thank you for being incredible. Thank you for sharing your story. Thanks for being my friend in this lifetime, being an advocate for our community, for your community. And hopefully next year I can come out, NADF can come out again, and we can reunite once more.
I would love that. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for listening, all those things. I'm so
always
happy to be here.
Always an honor. Well, everybody, I wish you a happy holidays. Please stay safe and take care of yourself. Updose as needed. If you do have adrenal insufficiency or an adrenal disease that requires updosing, rest when needed, if I didn't already say that. And just know that it's okay to take care of yourself. You don't have to go and participate and do everything. While it is fun to do that, it's also okay to rest and recover and do what your body needs. Thanks for being here, Adrenal Warriors. I'm your host, Vanessa O'Rourke, Sending you all the spoons, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining in on another episode of All Things Adrenal. This episode is edited and produced by Magdalene Zinke. For more information on the National Adrenal Diseases Foundation, please visit NADF.us. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating and review to help others find out about all things adrenal. If you have a story you want to share or a question you'd like answered, reach out to NADFSupport at NADF.us.